And then we had to go from his drawings. His drawings were the ones that actually, where they made the wood patterns for everybody. So every wood pattern that was out there was actually his drawings, not my scrabbly little drawings that started this whole thing. So we had a good time together, and it was quite a thing. And Bob was really responsible for getting these things the exact way you guys like them. So I'm going to turn this over to the rest of the crew, or I guess, no, Bob's going to come up and talk. Yeah, that's right.
Okay.
So thank you, Bob, for everything. Go get him, buddy.
Right on, Larry.
Good evening. First thing I want to do is thank Mark and Jennifer and all the convention staff for honoring me with this Nationals convention, the 17th year. And my wife Carmen, who puts up with all my Hot Wheels collecting, and my son David, who many years ago when he was young, that's about 30 years, yes, he used to carry a briefcase around with my cars in it to the conventions, very first conventions. So that's quite a long time ago. Anyway, Larry and I had a common passion for Hot Wheels in that we both liked the cars, and we'd go out to museums and photograph them, and we would take pictures and scale them down, of course. And there was one time when I went to, we went to Las Vegas to go see the Ford Escort. Anybody remember that car? Yeah. Well, I had some light tan pants on, and we were on the plane, and they offered us orange juice or something, and I spilled it on me. Can you imagine how embarrassing that is to have that stain in that spot? Anyway, I dried it off the best I could. We went to Las Vegas where they were showing that Ford Escort, and we photographed it and took all our measurements, and whatever came out of it is what went into production. Let me start this off here. And this is, of course, the signed sheet that you got. And I didn't get to choose the car. I would have liked to have used one for my own days, but it is a beautiful car. I believe this was designed by Phil. Is that correct, Phil? Yep. Yeah, it's really nice. And with Van's help, we put together the pin logo and T-shirts and everything. Van, thank you for all your help.
My pleasure.
Hollywood for all his help on everything throughout the years, keeping me involved in the Hot Wheels world. Okay, first thing, about 1976, we were doing Hot Wheels in Hong Kong, and they needed somebody to fill in on one of the milling machines. And it just so happened I had some background in machinery, and so I went over and I filled in for the guy that was on vacation, and there I am.
Oh, look at that. Yeah, use your pointer. Yeah.
Seriously, I did go over there to do some work. We were there for the startup of some of the new cars, and perhaps it was something unique like scene machines or something, I did Wheel Riders, I did scene machines, I did the Heroes, crack-ups, and the list goes on and on. And if you look at the papers that I wrote, or that they have in the packet, you'll see that. Okay, this goes to Mike Strauss. Mike Strauss, he's not here, but in the early years, I think it was about 83, 82, somewhere around, he came over to Mattel, and he had wanted to talk to some of the engineers, designers at Mattel, and he was doing just starting up as a little publication, the Hot Wheels newsletter. Well, he had competition. He had another guy named Ron Heidelberg who was doing the Hot Wheels and Exchange Club, Collectors Exchange Club, I believe it was. And of course, he was a little jealous, so he put on there that Mike was going to get knocked out. As you see the MS on his shorts. Anyhow, Mike and I really hit it off in that we were collectors. And a collector will collect anything. I started out with stamps and coins and
Comic books.
Comic books. I loved Walt Disney comics from the 1940s and 50s. Well, Mike had a ton of these things, you know? I couldn't believe it. And so he persuaded me to trade him rear-load beach bombs for a comic book. Yeah. I fell for it. Oh, at that time, you know, he put out a price guide. And the price guide was listing the rear-load beach bomb for, I think, $50 or $100, you know. So if there were any out there at that time, that's all they were worth. What the heck? So I got some comic books. And I'd love to trade them for rear-load beach bombs if anybody is. Next slide. This is a production jet threat next to the brass model. And if you notice, anybody see that?
Yeah, we can all see that.
Okay, there's brass. See the brass over there peeking through it? And there are some differences in the detail of the, I believe that's a turbine engine. Is that right, Ted? Yeah. Okay, Ted would know. And there are a lot of differences in the brass model, but we had to make them. We had to do this for testing because the brass is a similar weight to Zamac, which is zinc, aluminum, magnesium, and some other stuff, probably dust. Because sort of crumbled, you know. Right, anybody seen a crumbler before? Okay, yeah, that's some poor quality die cast. Anyway, this is one of those brass models. Oh yes, we get letters. We used to get letters from collectors. I think this was from a somebody, Craig Geary. Is that right? Are you in the audience?
If you're a lawyer.
Anyway, we used to get a lot of letters like this, asking us questions about cars and stuff, and they would eventually end up on my desk to answer, and I would pass it on sometimes. Sometimes I would answer it myself. We did our first Hot Wheels book, the Black Book, about 1981, and if you recall, that was opened up collecting to a lot of the adults. And Larry and I have really pushed for the adult collectors to have all the classic cars they wanted, the race cars that they wanted, NASCAR and all that sort of stuff. But the classics really pushed for it, and we knew that the grown-up collectors really enjoyed that. And of course, we came up with the Real Riders concept that was really aimed towards that, because the kids wanted them to roll fast, but the adult collectors wanted to see them look like real tires. So we came out with the Real Riders. This was about 1981, I think. Here's us again, getting a little older. You see, Larry still has a smile anyway. Handmade models.
Grecian formula.
Yeah.
This is a 37 Bugatti, And it's handmade. If you see the grill on there, it's got a little bit different detail, but we had a model, pattern maker, model maker who could carve like just about any car with just a few sketches from Larry. We had to get approval from marketing first before we really started going into the real thing. And this is one of those models, and it turned out very much like a production model. Here's Larry and I again. See, Larry's a little younger there. He's got some dark hair on the top. Right, Larry?
Yeah, right.
Okay, grid prints. I thought I'd show one of these because many people have heard about these, and many of you may have one by now. Anybody have a grid print? Oh, I got one back there. I got two. I got three. Do I hear four? The reason we did this is the Tampo grid would distort around curved surfaces, and we had to adjust the artwork. See how it curves? To compensate for these wheel wells and roll bars or whatever we were trying to print on. So we did this on cars for the Flying Colors. That was in the '74 year, and we actually started doing this in 1973. Oh,
Jeez.
still got dark hair.
Dark hair.
This is another brass model compared to a production model, and it is pretty close. It doesn't have the louvers on the hood, but it does have the right engine and the little part in the back there. This particular chassis had been used later on for making the 56 Ford Hightail hauler. We used it for there was another one. Anybody? 56 Ford Hightail hauler. What else did we use that chassis for? Bob Rosas. Very good. That was one of my favorites. We just passed that. Yeah. And so we tried to save tooling costs by using the same mold for several different bodies. Well, later on, we were told that it really didn't help. They just they got to make more, and the tool wears out faster. So what the heck? Just make a new model, and that's what happened. We had that choice on like the AOK. We got a call from Hong Kong saying that the mold cracked and that we couldn't make AOKs anymore. Well, I told them, okay, well, whatever you got made, put the rubber tires on them and send them to me. And so we ended up with a few of them samples, and they're a rare thing to find. So the problem with the tooling is that they're good for about, I'd say about 750,000 shots, 500,000 to 750,000 shots, and they wear out. They start flashing. If you know what that means is when the molds are together, they keep the metal all molten in the areas. When it starts wearing, you get more flash, and there's a lot of handwork involved. Imagine all these little people here scraping off the flash, by hand. Later on, they went to a tumbling process, of course, which deburred the parts. Here I am. They sent me to get over a couple of years later. I did so well, and I was going to help out again. Thank you. Okay, the beginning of Tampo. The beginning of Tampo, we thought we would raise the letters in the casting and kind of hit the top of them, all the raised surfaces. Well, that didn't work. As you can see, that's the El Rey Special. Some people say El Rey Special, R-A-Y. It's El Rey, R-E-Y. And that one was the actual Tampo we were going to use, but we had to change the casting and eliminate those raised numbers. Mega Ford's motorcycle, I don't remember what we actually called this, TACCOM or something like that. Larry and I went out to the studios where they were filming this, and that was the film Mega Force, and we photographed the motorcycles and all those special vehicles they used for that series. Well, this was one that did not go into production. A few people have gotten these pieces. This is the only one I know that was not painted. I think Joe got that somewhere. Joe Wiggins, are you here? There you are, okay. And we sample printed some of these samples. But that did not go into production. It was more like the size of a Mean Machine or the first motorcycles that Mattel made. That was the, yeah, right, Rumblers. This is an example of hand painting. This is, some people say it's done with a one bristle brush to paint all that detail on there. The talented gentleman who did this, his name was Katz, and he did this, I don't know how he did it. I sure would have liked to watch him because, you know, he could probably paint on the pin of the head of a pin or something, the way it came out so nice. And when we actually sample printed, it was quite as good. This is out of a set that we did called, that was called Firebird Spectacular. And in the set was going to be this matte gold Firebird and a blue metallic Hot Bird and an 80s Firebird in red, candy red. So that set never went into production, but we got a few vehicles out of that set that are still floating around. Okay, here we are getting a little older. This is a California convention, probably 20 years, 15 years. There's Randy Leffingwell, there, right? Randy Leffingwell, who did the book, 35 years of Hot Wheels.
Steve Turk?
What's that?
Steve Turk?
Yes. Okay, the magical, mysterious, snap-on fuel tanks. These were another one of those that were never produced. I had a handful of these in my drawer at work, and so I hate to throw them away. I'll put them in my briefcase and smuggle them out.
We never did that.
That never happened.
Never.
Oh, we didn't do that. I didn't hear that.
I'll erase it.
But the snap-on tanks went on about 4 different Indy cars. And this one is the Shelby turbine, right? Am I correct? Yep. Oh, good. I still remember this. Okay, we also did the sample printing in-house before the plates were shipped to Hong Kong or Malaysia, where they would do the actual printing. But we first tried to sample it on other colors so that in the future we would ask marketing, hey, would you like to see this on white or blue? I've got a sample here. So I had them do this in white, burgundy, blue, a light blue, and there's a few of these floating around too. There I am on my last tour in Hong Kong, and is filling in for a guy on a milling machine. Market research. We did research. We made up some special packages. We put cars in there and showed them to the moms at the markets. Not we ourselves, but marketing. Hired some vendors to do that. And they selected the ones they liked the best. Well, market didn't like any of them, so we stayed with our old blue package. But I think they're kind of neat.
They got marketing, good shows.
Yeah. Okay, the autograph sheet that I'm doing for this year has a gold Make that call.
Speakerphone.
The gold GMC motorhome, GMC motorhome in general, was given to us in the form of blueprints. And the blueprints were, gosh, they went from end to end here. And we had to scale it down to 3 inches. So I took about 10 feet out of the center of this one, lineal feet, and it's a little stubby, but that's what it turned out to be. And it's never popular and a favorite of mine, and I'm trying to acquire every version of that one too. That gold one was actually plated in gold and sent to GMC headquarters, where they gave them to their executives. I think we made about 24 of those. The one on the right of that is the Highway Hauler, another favorite of mine. And if you see the names on there, there's my dot on there. I can't, there it is. I'm right there, number 2. The number 1 is Larry.
That's because I did the artwork.
And on there is also Katz. Katz was the talented gentleman that would hand paint these things, and before we actually make the temple artwork. Also on the list is, I think there's John on there, and George, and Ringo, yeah. And the one in the front was made for the Toy Fair 1975, and it was quite a hit. From then on, we started doing cars for the toy show, and at that time it was in California before I went to New York. Okay, this is the El Diablo story. Anybody ever seen this car before? Yes. The story is there. I don't think you can read it, but the car is the Army funny car. And our objective there was to see how much we could cover on the tampo print sides, the top. And Larry, in his hilarious ways, would put things like, "Hi, Mom." El Diablo was a restaurant that we used to go have our weekly burrito there, or a hamburger. And somehow it got to be the theme of that one. There's probably about a dozen of those around. These are some of my real cars. I have a 57 Chevy truck and a 56 Ford Fairlane, 62 Thunderbird Roadster, and I've added some to that. I've also got now a 65 Mustang, and of course a Beetle, the Hot Wheels Beetle. And I know, if you collect little cars, you probably like the big ones too. But you can only have so many big cars, so the little ones take a lot less room, that's for sure.
And they come in other colors.
That's all, folks.
Good thing.